All right, so today we've got Ben Doxey with us. He was in the OPDD program, but Cotopaxi wanted him really badly, so they stole him away early. But he's here from Cotopaxi, and so he'll talk to you about what kind of his road to get there and what he does with Cotopaxi. So let's give our attention to Ben. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Ben Doxey. I was here years ago. I left the program. We'll get into that just a little bit, but I'm going to just share a little bit about who I am, and then I have quite a bit of product with me that we can look at. And then if you guys have questions, I would love lots of questions. You can ask me anything about what type of roles you can look into, or everything that an apparel designer does, what a developer does, what a product line manager does. We can get into all those types of things. And I know that you guys have had some really great speakers this year, so I'm young in my career and definitely not as qualified as some of those big time designers. So it'll be fun. So yeah, we'll go over a few things today. So when I was here at Utah State, it was actually in this room right here that Lindsay was here, and it was our first meeting with the OPDD program. And I was like, wow, this looks really cool, and I love the idea of working with my hands and working in a supply chain that I care about, working in the outdoor industry, which is really fun. That's maybe a little bit of a softer industry than you see in fashion or sportswear. So while I was here, I reached out to actually one of the founders. His name was CJ of Cotopaxi, and he came to the presentation shortly after they did some group interviews, and they were looking for an intern for the summer. So I was able to get an internship with their VP of the apparel at Cotopaxi named Shree, and spent the summer with her. Looked for some other opportunities, I wanted to do a semester in Europe, and I found that Hilly Hansen was looking for some interns, and that's something that's an ongoing basis. So I went to Oslo for the winter, spring, and then happened to come across Patagonia, and I think there was some help with probably Chase or the program, because the competition is very big, and I'm just a normal guy. So I got lucky. And then after that, Sheree was still at Cotopaxi, and she's like, hey, I don't know what your plans are with school, but we're looking for another designer. And so it was a really hard decision. I had a little bit more school to do to finish the program. And so I worked really fast and figured out a way that I could get a degree. And so I finished with an interdisciplinary degree in design, and started working 2 years ago. So I've been in Cotopaxi 2 years. And then shortly after, my contact, my boss at Sheree, who I had this long-running relationship with, left the company after 4 years being there, or three years. And so then it was kind of like a whirlwind, but we'll get into that. So Utah State, it's really fun that you guys are here in this program. And looking back, there's so many valuable things that you guys can do here at school. So, and I don't really want to get into too much, because you guys are in charge of your own destinies. But so some cool things about being in school is that it's super low risk, right? So you can experiment and just make weird stuff. And I've always felt like rubrics are restricting, and I hated wanting to do a project and be I have to check all these boxes. And this is my dad, by the way. He wanted to come up and hear me speak today, so thanks for coming up. So take advantage of how low risk it is, because when you get into a company, and if you haven't thought through some concepts, or if you want to try something new, it costs thousands of dollars to do it. And it's not a bad thing, because the company wants to innovate and try new things, but you feel really dumb, and you feel bad when you're just blowing through resources. And so yeah, just take advantage and just try to do lots of weird stuff. And then also, I know, I remember here, Adrienne, when I was here, she would always say, soft skills are important, but, you need to focus on hard skills too. So soft skills are definitely the way that I was able to get all those internships. You need to learn how to like send professional emails and talk to people and know like what they're looking for. If you just send an email and say like, hey, like I'm a design student and like I'm looking for an opportunity, it's like, cool, I get like 50 of these emails in my LinkedIn inbox every day or every week, you know what I mean? If you come at it like, hey, like I'm interested in working with you, I think your story is really interesting and I'd love to like learn more about how you've gotten to this place. That like opens up the door to have a conversation, and then you like I've gotten on the phone with like lots of people. Like if someone emails me and they're like, yeah, I can get on a 30-minute call, you want some advice on how to do something, or you just want to like know like what my job is like if you're trying to like do some exploration. So like ask for a phone call or ask to come shadow. Ask if you can stop by the office and just see, you know, their desk and their office and what their day-to-day life is. And just say, you know, like, I'm in the area, I'm going to be down there, or whatever. When I was here one time, we did a trip up to Washington over our fall break, and we went and saw, I'm forgetting the name, Eddie Bauer, which was cool. So, you know, Eddie Bauer is like maybe a brand that some of us don't think is like that cool, or that we wouldn't want to wear, or maybe work for. But you know, it's a bigger company. It was cool to see. I had never been in a company that large. So when another student and I, we like from one of these seminars or something, someone came and spoke, and so we like followed up with an email like, hey, like, you know, we didn't even have like a fall trip planned up to York and Custom, Washington. We're like, hey, like we're coming on a trip this fall. We'd love to like come up and meet with you guys, or just like, you know, come have a tour of the facility. So we got to meet with like a few recruiters and like a former designer, and then we spent like a few hours. They like showed us their archive, and we got to see the office, which was super cool. Obviously, that like never amounted to anything more. I'm not working for Eddie Bauer, but it's, you know, it's a good opportunity to get out and like meet as many people as you can. And then the last thing is weigh your options. So I know that you all like are like super busy and like you have, you know, these sketching classes and sewing classes, and there's all these like big decisions you have to make about like what's like the most important thing. And so many things that you do in school just like don't matter. And I know I shouldn't be saying this because like, but you know, like so many assignments and stuff, it's like it doesn't move the needle for like moving you forward. And so you have to like really learn like, so is it more important that like I miss a day of school to go like meet with some designer somewhere and like build that relationship? I don't know. That's your decision. You have to weigh the options. So find the things that like really move the needle, or like put extra time in a project that you know is going to be like the most important part in your portfolio, and spend like less time on other things because you can't do everything. So learn to weigh your options. Don't kill yourself and try to do everything because you won't be able to. And then you know, like try to get good grades and like do good, but don't like kill yourself over every like little assignment. It's not gonna change like who you are as a designer or getting a job. Any other questions or thoughts? I'm gonna leave school and then we're gonna go into Cotopaxi. No thoughts? Okay. Cool. So, who in here is familiar with Cotopaxi? Okay, so like everyone. And is that because of like the relationship we have with you guys, or like do you guys have bags? Does anyone have apparel? A few, yeah. So that's basically how it is. So Cotopaxi, we do like 55% of bags and then 45% apparel. That's kind of the breakdown of the revenue. And a lot of the bag sales are driven by like 3 bags. And so that's the Alpa, which maybe you have seen. It's like our big travel backpack. The Luzon, which has been around since day one, and then the new Batak. Well, it's newish. It's also a Delta, I think. And I'm not going to get too much into the Del Dio story. Does anyone know what the Del Dio story is, or what we do with our bags?
So the person doing the sewing, did you choose the fabric color combination?
Yeah. So CJ, one of the co-founders I was talking about earlier, he has this really great relationship with our factory in the Philippines. It's called Dong In, and he was there, and he saw like all of this excess fabric just on rolls, he was saying, how can we use this and make it interesting? And so they partnered and they really did this trial run of just cutting like yards, so layering yards of fabric, doing all the pieces, and then basically each piece just gets thrown into a bin, into different bins. And so then as it goes down the line, they just pick whatever color they want and they put it through. So if you look at our bags, every stitch is different, the thread color, it's insane. It's it's really kept the company alive. It's driven the business for sure. And then 2 years ago we launched the Alpha, which is this bag that you see the girl wearing. And this opened up a whole new category for us, which is adventure travel. And so a lot of the apparel that we're designing now is not just for outdoors. It's for this idea of packing really light and being super multifunctional. And you probably see that in a lot of other brands of who is it? Western Rice has this pant, right? That does does all these things, and it's has a DWR finish, so every other pant in the world that repels coffee or anything off of it. But so that's a big new focus of Cotopaxi is the adventure travel, and you guys will continue to see more products focused towards that. So, and then our most popular T-shirt, which maybe some of you have seen, is the Do Good Tee. And Davis Smith, who is our founder and CEO, he's done multiple businesses, and he really wanted to do something that mattered. He kind of got to this point in his life where he had enough money that that he's I want to do something that actually helps people. And it was during the time when, and Davis tells the story so well if you ever get the chance to hear it, but it was during the time of a lot of the bombings in Syria, and we saw a lot of the refugees fleeing the country, and so he's I want to build this brand that has a social impact story. And so Cotopaxi, although we have a lot of initiatives with environmental an environmental focus, the core of what we do is all based around social. So who in here has ordered something from Cotopaxi and gotten it in the mail, not bought it at the store? Okay, so did you get anything in the package?
Yeah, I got a little card.
Yeah.
With a little message on the back from a refugee. Mine was from Afghanistan, I think.
Yeah. So, and did that surprise you? We're oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we have something called, and this last year we just launched what's called the Cotopaxi Foundation. And what these guys are talking about is 4 years ago, Cotopaxi started this program called the Card Writing Program. And we hire local refugees in Utah, in the Salt Lake area, to handwrite cards. So they usually just say thank you in their native language, and then sign their name or something. And so we pay them money, and then it's a way to they get to work on their own hours, which is really cool. And we help rotate people through to generate some income. They get some experience working with the company, and then kind of transition. So we work with them with the IRC, and then our grantees that we donate through the Cotopaxi Foundation, we do IRC, Escuela Nueva, which is in Colombia, in Latin America. It promotes education. And then we work with the UN Foundation with Nothing But Nets, and then we do more with Utah Refugees Services. And then with our product, it's always been the core, but Cotopaxi is an interesting place because Davis, who is the CEO, is not a product person. So you see a lot of companies emerge because someone has a vision for a product, right? Or they have this vision for the aesthetic of a product. So it's something that has evolved a lot, and we're trying to get to a place that isn't too polarizing. If you look at our website, a lot of our colors are really bright. We've got the tech here, and it's been good because it's really separated us with getting wholesale accounts. So when you look on a business perspective, buyers from REI or small specialty shops, they're going to be picking up Patagonia, North Face, all these other brands, and they're all going to look very similar. And then you've got Cotopaxi, which is far out there. And so it's worked very much in our favor, but we're hitting this point in our wholesale strategy where these bright and colorful pieces of apparel and bags are kind of like the gateway, and now they want more sophisticated products. I'm going to talk about that. So anything that's like under $100, we can color block and like really blow out, and then things that are more expensive, we try to like do some crazy ones and then like tone it down. So this is a photo just taken on iPhone last week in Tianjin, China. And so this is northern China. Just got back last week, and our main installation factory, they do like everyone's sleeping bags. So they do Marmot, Kelty, North Face. They have a huge facility in Cambodia too, and so it's pretty cool. So if you have any questions about like installation sleeping bags, we can dive into that. But when we started working with this partner, the company's name is Unicorn. It's a great name, and that's like a mythical Chinese. Well, it's mythical for us too, but it's actually like a dragon for them. So it has like 2 horns, which we're like, how is it a unicorn? It has multiple horns, but so they believe in like it's like this animal that like does good and like prosperity, you know. And so George, who's the owner, who you guys will see, he's actually next to Evie, who's the tall blonde. He's been in manufacturing for quite a while, and he saw this trend in the United States and in other parts of the world of wanting to do like more social good. And so their factory is in the process of getting fair trade certified right now, which is really great. I think it will be like the first one in northern China. There aren't very many fair trade factories in China. We use one in Shanghai. That is where Patagonia makes all of their hats as well. We're in the same facility as them. But I wanted to go over like a little bit about like a product team, and maybe Casey from Under Armour, maybe he like went into detail about like how a product team functions. Did he? Not really. So one of my biggest questions when I was in school is like, how does it all like work together, and like what are the rules? Like how do they actually like fit together? So our team is pretty small, and we're missing several like little departments and roles. But Karen is our chief merchandising officer, and she also acts as our like plan manager. So she will coordinate with Evie, and they will come up with styles to make, and then they make briefs. So a brief is just like a 1-page or 2-page like PDF that has like the target price, the MSRP, and then like comp styles and what features it needs. So, and are you guys doing briefs? You like teaching them?
Yeah, so we talked about, well, just in this class, we've talked about product line managers and writing briefs.
Okay. Yeah. So product line managers are so funny, and like at Patagonia, they like run the company. It's like design is like secondary. On our team, we all get to come together and like battle it out, which is great because then you really get innovation, and a merchandiser will always lean on the side of being hesitant to bring something new to market for the sake of it not selling, right? Because they need to move the numbers. But product line managers are so funny because it's like, they're like so in tune with like the whole like industry and like what's in the market, but then like they're not designing it, and they like have these expectations. I don't know. It's just all kinds of things about what's like realistic, and they put up these like targets. So it's like we can't design something like for that cheap. Yeah. So then we have a VP of design, Allie, who you guys will meet later this year, is our director of product development, and who came from Patagonia. And then Corey is a senior product developer. She's there in the middle with the Bowie shirt on, and she comes from Adidas. And then Emma's our colorist, and she's been with Cotopaxi longer than I have, and kind of like was into jewelry and stuff. She takes on like 1 or 2 women's styles a year, and then just focuses on color. So she really is like the brain behind all the color like ways. It's insane. And then I'm there. I'm just an apparel designer. Title's actually product designer. I worked on some packs when I first started, and then they were like, "Hey, Cherie's leaving, so we need you to just like a full-time into apparel. And then we have an interim back designer right now. His name's Jason, and then merchandise planner Phil. So we work closely with Phil. He is the one who places all the POs, and it's this balance of like checking product off, saying it's buy ready, and then the developer saying, yeah, like everything is correct on the BOM, and all the materials are correct, and the price is correct, and then Phil places the PO to make sure that we get it on time. Cotopaxi used to not have a merchandise planner. Phil came on maybe a year and a half ago, and we would always miss deadlines. The merchandise would never show up on time because we didn't have someone placing POs and keeping us on track. So I want to get in a little bit. Have you guys heard anyone from Allied Down? Okay, so do you guys know how down is like processed or done? So one of our photographers, James Rowe, he was able to visit one of Allied's farms in China this last trip, and so you can see there's like trees and the geese just like run around. It's like pretty cool. And this is like one of the smaller ones, and they have larger ones that just they're outside, so it's cool. So duck and geese in China they're consumed, like they eat the meat. And I think it's called like Beijing duck or Peking duck. It's like the bronze duck. I don't know if you guys ever seen that. It's like it looks like it's glazed and it's like really slow roasted. It looks like it's been like sitting there for like a week. It's like super popular in China, and it's they eat a ton of it. So all these birds go to slaughterhouses. So I don't know if you knew that down comes from dead birds. Did you guys know that? Did you guys think that like we like collected the feathers like off the ground? Okay, so in the down world, live plucking is a big no-no. So it's actually a good thing that they kill it because it's super painful for the bird to be live plucked. And they grow these birds like I think they turn around like every 6 to 8 months. So it's pretty fast, but they're not doing force feeding. So one thing that you see like on chicken lines is you see chickens and they will like have like a thing in their throat and they're basically like feeding them to like stuff them in a thing. So that's great. And then also Allied has it's all certified and it's traceable down. So technically, which I don't know how to do this because I never have and I want to, you can go onto Allied's website and look at a batch number, and then you can trace that back to the farm that it came from. So there's all kinds of like funny things with down, and I'm always curious to know if like we're actually getting the right down or like the right fill or the right weight in the jacket. So there's lots of things. So down machines, and I should have put a photo in here, they have, so there's like these huge like big white machines, and so these huge like white machines, and they have like they're like big blowers, and so the way they do the baffles is they'll have like one like chamber open or on the sleeping bag, and then they blow it in, and then they'll do like one seam, they'll pass the next person, they'll do one little seam, and then they'll take it back to the factory floor where they'll like clean it up and finish it. But so down comes in these massive bags, and they put them in these big blowers, and so you have like 950 goose, you have 900, 850, 800. You have 800 duck down. You have gray duck. You have white duck. You have like everything. And so I'm always curious to know like if we buy 950 goose down and like it gets to the factory, like what are the I don't know. Does it ever happen that like maybe like they just don't like clean up the machine and like one of the jackets gets like 800 in it? You know what I mean? From a different like batch. I'm always curious. And so a lot of companies don't do this, and because it requires a lot more time on the floor, but jackets should be weighed before down is blown into them. So a full jacket should be weighed, like completed, the zipper, everything. And then the down should be blown in, and then it should be weighed after. And there's like obviously there's a tolerance, but it should be that's that. So there you guys does this make sense? So then you weigh like the amount of down that you're putting in and the fill power, which again, 950 to like 800, the weight isn't going to be like any different. So like down is interesting, and I think there's a lot of things to explore there. You guys should ask that guy when he comes, or maybe next year. But yeah, there's just like questions, you know. But the good thing is we're supporting good suppliers who aren't doing forcing. So synthetic insulation.
Got a question down here.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So what's the difference between the numbers? Is it like different like weight or like how well insulated it is?
Okay, so it's the size of the plume. It's the density of the plume. So let me show you. So like this jacket up here. Okay, so this one has 950. This one has 800, and this one has 650. Okay, so like bigger baffles, they actually recommend that you use a lower fill power because the down will it like keeps its shape better. Where you need smaller baffles for the higher fill powers. This is all that they told me last year at OR. So I think some of it's just kind of smoke, you know. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, some of it's marketing for sure, I think.
That's what I think. And then the other thing is they never disclose. So down prices are always changing. It's like a commodity, right? It's like gold. It's always fluctuating. So and you can like lock in a price or like a forecast. So you can say like, okay, like we're buying, you know, we're gonna buy like X amount of down, and that's going to last us through like next 4 years. So we might like be locked in at down price, but then once we hit that next season, down might be so expensive that like we can't run the same jacket anymore because the jacket it won't be affordable. So yeah, it's interesting. So these prices are always fluctuating, but the thing is that they never say like they never have any. So like 950 is the hardest because they filter it out, and it's the best quality down, but you can always just pay the price and they'll always find it, you know? It's like there's no end. I don't know. The things that just like are just crazy. So synthetic insulation, this factory, this photo here is this is making sleeping bag insulation. So this is like middle grade insulation. This isn't like top tier like premium tech. It's not something you use in apparel. But this is the stuff that's being made right here that we saw was for the Kelty, it's the Marmot, like, it's like the $100 bag. I don't know what it is. It's like some mummy bag that's like $120. It's like like the Ultra Loft. Terrestrial? I don't know. Or were you saying something? Sorry. Anyway, so the way that the synthetic insulation is made is that they get all like these just fibers, and I should have put a photo in here, sorry, but it's just like you can like stick your hand and just pull out like a bunch of it. And so they put it in these machines, they cart it, and then it gets passed into these other big machines, and then it gets carted again and then spun out. So you get these big long sheets, and then underneath this conveyor on the right hand side is another conveyor going perpendicular to it, and you have 3 of these machines layering, so it's just like kind of like folding it on top, and then it goes through a machine where they spray it with water and then it gets like heated. So the insulation's like that thick, and then when it comes out it's like that thick. And this is like a 200 gram sandwich insulation, so super thick. So this is the facility that so the jacket Chase has on, this is like original Cotopaxi. This is like one of Cherie's design. So we told the story with llama fibers from Bolivia, and we made a sandwich insulation where we fused a synthetic insulation on the outside and bottom side of the llama. And the reason we do that is because llama fiber is like super, super fine, and it will come out of the jacket. So you probably still see migration, which is a bummer. And we actually are launching, okay, and no one's recording, right? Okay, so and there will be a few photos that you can't take photos of. So we're launching this, I think it's coming out for Black Friday. We're doing like a cart camping sleeping bag. It's like a throwback, and it's going to be very cheap. And it's really cool, and we're putting llama and synthetic insulation in it, and yeah, it'll be fun. Like you can click them out, just like a big rectangle, and match them together. The color blocking is really fun. So we made this llama insulation at this facility. It was like super lightweight, and then so on the first and third machine we had really thin synthetic insulation. On the second machine we had the llama, and it was a lot thicker, and then it would go through and it would fuse it all together. Any questions on synthetic insulation? Okay. So, yeah, we don't really need to talk about this, but one thing I want to say is like, when you bring like a product or like to life and you're like, going through the steps, so many designers think like, oh, like this is my product, right? Like I brought this to life, and it's not a great way to think because your product will never make it if like you don't have like the support of like your developer and like your merchandiser and like the marketing team of the company. And like the biggest part of the team is the factory, and they have like so much expertise and come back with so many ideas. George, so Big Agnes was the one that quite a few years ago came out with the sleeping bag that has like the insert thing, right? Is that Big Agnes for the pad? Yeah, so George and his team like helped concept that. That's like it's like incredible what these people come up with. And so never underestimate like the rest of your team. Your team expands so much further. And I love what Corey says. Corey's a super talented developer and from Adidas, and she's like, I don't know a lot of stuff, and I'm not embarrassed to ask the factory for advice. And that's really valuable. Here's just a few photos of the factory line there. And then one of our sewers in Afweaga. So I want to do a little exercise really fast. So we've got 3 Fuegos up here. This is like our flagship top seller for insulation. So we have 3 different years. Okay, so one is fall 17, one is like out right now, and then one is next year. And then I wish we had like the clickers because you guys can pull in. But
We can. Do you want to have them pull in?
I don't know if we have time.
Yeah.
Do that?
Well, let's set up real quick.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. So while you're thinking about that, I want you to think about which one is like the most expensive to make, which one has like the highest perceived value, and then
All right, don't push anything yet. And then,
Are you trying to kind of guess it?
Yeah, yeah.
So I just need
okay, let's do A, B, and C. A, B, C. So let me just show you the features, okay? So this one's 800 fill down. It has downside panels, so full down. It has a hood. Just imagine this middle one has a hood too. It has a dump pocket and then a small zip pocket. It comes with a stuff set and then another dump pocket over here, okay? This one has Polartec Alpha direct on the sides, so it adds some breathability. It has 950 fill, and it has a little bit more complicated construction. And it has like a binding here, and it's like a little bit not as clean. And then we have this one, and we like cleaned up the inside. You guys can see that? No? Okay. Zip pocket, we got rid of the other dump pocket, and we did a hanging liner. So instead of quilting through the front, we just did hanging liner. Okay, so what do you guys think? So let's guess which one is the most expensive to make.
A, B, C.
Yeah, that's a great. So someone that guessed B, why did you say B? Yeah, that's good.
I know Polartec Alpha is a really expensive material.
Yeah.
That has, I don't know, more nicer down.
Yep.
I was gonna say that, yeah, the higher fill down makes it a little bit more expensive.
Yep.
You also talked about your color scheme and how your most expensive products were coming down a little bit on the color scheme. So.
Yeah, good. That was good. Okay, so let's not do a poll for this one, but which one do you think is, or I guess we could. Which one do you think is fall 17? Wow. Okay, so fall 17 is actually this one.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and yes, you guys can change your answer. You know. So this is fall 19, and then that's fall 20. This jacket. So let me just explain. So this fabric is what was killing us, and it's not actually the down. So the down, this has it has more fill weight to it. There's more down in this than this one. This one's not a super warm jacket. It's much warmer. This one we're using Japanese fabric on, and this one we're using a Taiwanese fabric. And I should send these around so you guys can feel the difference, but it's like night and day difference. And I think we're good. So the fall 17 or the fall 19 jacket, it costs like 25% less of this landed cost. Okay, and in my opinion, I think it has a much higher perceived value. And then we did so with the wholesale channel expanding. This one still wasn't at a good margin for us to make money through wholesale because wholesalers take a big chunk of money. So this one is actually 25% cheaper to make than our fall 19 one. And if you're looking for a down jacket, you guys should buy the fall 19 one because it's really good. So let those pass around, you guys can fill them. Okay, and then I just want to show one other project that I did. Do you guys want to see a tech pack, or do you want to see? So this is a new jacket that came out. We worked on it for actually spring 19, but it got delayed because we needed extra time in development. It's the jacket I'm wearing today. It's called the Monty Hybrid, and so we actually did Polar Tech, a hanging active insulation in it, and then did some quilting. And the really cool thing that that this product started for us is a movement that all polyester going forward in our line is going to be recycled. So this jacket, the fleece is 93% recycled poly, and then 7% spandex, and then the shell and the liner are all 100% recycled poly. They're breathable, and then the liner is like 65% recycled poly, or the insulation. So this is one of the environmental initiatives that we have going that we're excited about. If you want to get into the whole world of polyester and if we shouldn't be using polyester at all, I would love to discuss that. I think maybe everything should just go to cotton. I had this extremist come up to me at OR and said, when is it going to get popular again, to not be using all this poly? And I was like, that's a really good question. And if you guys want to check out a really cool brand right now, it's called Industry of All Nations. They are doing, they just have 3 different colors. So they're doing recycled denim, and they're doing, and they just do organic cotton t-shirts. And they do a stone wash, and they just do how many dips. So you have a variants, right? So you have gray to black, light blue to indigo, and then something. But yeah, it's pretty cool. There's the jacket again. And then one other thing I wanted to share, and then we'll go into questions for a few minutes. So the Tekka has been one of our biggest selling apparel pieces in the spring. And we want to expand our remnant story. So when you look at waste in the world, the lowest carbon footprint and the lowest use of resources is taking waste. So we partnered with Polartech. We've been buying fleece. We're looking at other mills right now because they can't support the growth, but yeah, which is good because we're expanding the program. And so we are coming out with a new fleece, and you guys will see this fall. It's called the Tekka Fleece. And so the taffeta, the polyester on the front, is the Tekka fabric that we have from this factory. So we're using remnant there, and then the fleece that we're buying from Polartech is all remnant. So we have quite a few colorways, and you guys can check them out when they come out. But it's everything. So we have 350 yards of this one color, like 100 and something of this color. It's like so limited that like we have to like plan it all out. We have to buy it way in advance. It's a huge headache, and if the company were bigger, like big companies cannot do remnant programs like this because they're supporting huge runs that they'll never be able to like forecast for this. So it's something we're really proud of, and it's going to be really fun. It's going to be a cool fleece program, and it's like the most sustainable fleece program in the industry. I mean, no one else is just doing like fully upcycled fleece. That's super limited. So if you want a piece, you should get it because they're not going to be around. And there aren't very many of them. There's one more photo of the Tech Fleece, and then on the right is a new Power Stretch Pro. It's not Power Stretch Pro, but it's a poly nylon span. That's the Tech Fleece. We can get into this. Let's just go into questions. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
You said that Cotopaxi has a lot of missing components.
Oh yeah, I didn't get that. Yeah, so we don't have a material development team. So Patagonia has like a huge materials team. They're working on even further out than the design team. So they could be working on like fall 22 right now or spring 22. And a lot of material developers are coming out of North Carolina State University. They have a really good material development school there. Patagonia like hires like a ton of people from there. It's cool. So if you guys are like really interested, if you get further along, you're like materials are way cool, and I love like playing with like the pricing and like getting the highest perceived value for like the lowest cost with like the lowest impact. That you could look into doing like a master's at NC State. Yeah. Any other questions? Yep.
How much experience did you have before going into your first summer internship?
Okay, so I literally had none. And I remember I showed them this like drawing I did in Illustrator, and it was terrible. It was so bad. And they were so kind to me. They're like, "Oh yeah, this is like cool." And so what I did that summer is I just shadowed Sheree. You're not going to do like your own project. You're going to learn like about lab dips, and you're going to learn about fabric, and you're going to learn about the whole process. So you don't need. I don't know. I mean, Helly Hansen, I was working on design and Patagonia. They had me like working on actual tech tags and stuff. So yeah, just get out there and try to like connect with someone and be like, hey, I just want to like shadow you. You don't even pay me that much. Yeah. Any other questions?
You're talking about sending professional emails.
Yeah.
What exactly do you do to make it sound more professional? What kind of questions would you ask?
Okay, good question. Like, what would you ask in the email?
Yeah.
So, a lot of business emails are like very like short. Don't like keep it like too wordy. If you're sending a message over LinkedIn, just like keep your story short. Like, be interested, and then show initiative. And the other thing is, one thing like you guys can like write this down word for word. But if you everyone that works professionally gets tons of emails, and if they like read your email and they open it up and then they don't like, make it so you can't say, yeah, you can take it.
No, you're honest.
No, it's okay. So send and follow an email and say, hey, I just wanted to get this to the top of your inbox. That's all you have to say. You can just like reply, just do another reply, and don't be hesitant to like reply several times because it's a nuisance to like respond. They don't have to. If you just bug them enough, they'll do it. Don't be like overly, over the top. But just you need to be forward. They're not going to like make a position for you. You have to like outline it. Yeah. Any other questions?
All right, well, let's give Ben a hand. Appreciate you coming in.